For a sport where the ultimate outcome often seems predetermined, the NBA is good for a filthy slider every now and again. It's why lists and articles like the 25 under 25 we put out back in October are so much fun. It lets us all go back 6 months later and look at how stupid we all were. It's not like we didn't know this was coming. In 2017, when we put out the first edition of this list, there were some daytime sports talk radio, collar-level gems. Andrew Wiggins nearly cracked the top 10. Ben Simmons was 8 spots lower than Otto Porter. Nerlens Noel and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope both snuck into the top 25. We also got some things right in that first go-round 2 years ago. 4 of our original top 6, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns and Nikola Jokic, were atop this year's list, and the 2 that didn't make it either aged out, Anthony Davis, or got injured, Kristaps Porzingis. We were also ahead of the curve with a few of our original best-of-the-rest picks, nailing Jason Tatum and Clint Capella as players on the rise. So complete idiots, we are not. That said, in reviewing this year's edition 6 months after the fact, we have far more misses than hits. If this were baseball, our place in the lineup would be secure. Sadly, we're more like Russell Westbrook from behind the arc. Of all the omissions, none is more egregious than someone who not only didn't make our top 25 but didn't even get on this year's best of the rest. I'll even go so far as to reveal, at the risk of certain death, that based on the voting of our staff, if we'd have done a top 50, he would have barely made that list as well. Page 2, photo by Rocky Widner, NBA via Getty Images. There's a real argument that De'Aaron Fox isn't only one of the top 10 players under 25, but that he's one of the 10 most valuable assets in the entire league. Seriously, outside of Giannis, AD, Embiid, Harden, Curry, KD, Doncic, Towns and Jokic, who are you taking ahead of the former Wildcat to build your team around for the next 5 to 10 years? You could make arguments for a few guys, but at 21 years old, Fox's shelf life will far outlast those of MVP candidates Kawhi Leonard, 27, Damian Lillard, 28, and Paul George, 28. He's probably a better shooter right now than Ben Simmons will ever be. He also doesn't have the defensive concerns of Trae Young or Devin Booker, the injury issues of Kyrie Irving or Victor Oladipo, and plays a more valuable position than Bradley Beal or Klay Thompson. The best argument is probably for his draft classmate Donovan Mitchell, who finished 6th in our rankings after a near Rookie of the Year campaign. Fox. He ended up 49th, 2 spots below the immortal duo of Jabari Parker and Markelle Fultz. So yeah, the 5th overall pick from the 2017 draft made us all look like a bunch of clowns. He's also getting better as the season goes on. Before the All-Star game, the Kings outscored opponents by 1.4 points per 100 possessions when he was on the court and were outscored by 5.7 points when he was off. Since the break, the discrepancy has ballooned to 3.5 on court, negative 13.5 off court. He has become indispensable. Page 3, photo by Jonathan Bachman, Getty Images. If you polled the average NBA fan off the street and asked them to name the 4 best under 25 players in the league heading into this season, wouldn't they have said Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic and Karl Anthony Towns? Would they even have given you the correct order? Is it cheating to give ourselves credit for this? Probably, possibly, and definitely. We're still taking our victory lap, damn it. In a league where the center position has been so tremendously devalued, we didn't get too cute and try to sneak a Donovan Mitchell or a Jason Tatum in this grouping, instead realizing that an elite big man can make all the difference. And boy, have these guys ever made a difference. All 4 players are in the top 10 in the league in per. Giannis is the MVP favorite, while Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic are going to battle it out for first-team All-NBA center and will likely finish 4th and 5th in the MVP race themselves. And then there's Towns, who is about to become only the 6th player ever to average 24 and 12 in a season where they post an effective field goal percentage above 58, joining Wilt Chamberlain twice, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal and Giannis this year. Unlike the Greek Freak, he's shooting over 40% from downtown. So yeah, we made out alright here, although you could argue one guy should have nudged his way into this grouping. Page 4, photo by Stacey Revere, Getty Images. Before we get to just how woefully off we were by sticking Wonderboy Luka Doncic all the way down at 14, is there a case to be made that he should be in the top 4? Giannis is in a tier of his own. Joel Embiid changes the game at both ends and at some point will come across the magic elixir to the bad juju. Al Horford and the Celtics seem to send his way whenever Philly plays Boston. So no, Doncic doesn't get into the top 2. Jokic and Towns' cases are more tenuous. Each are transcendent on offense in their own way, but neither is perfect. These playoffs should clarify just how much Denver's defense suffers without a real rim protector. Cat, meanwhile, will be watching the playoffs from home in part to his own issues being fully engaged 100% of the time. Doncic, well, Doncic has been a revelation. Sure, there are warts. His effective field goal percentage has nearly dipped below 50%, thanks in part to a March swoon that's seen him make only 25% of his three-pointers. Dallas' season has also cratered since the Porzingis trade, and the Mavs have a negative 14.1 net rating with Doncic on the court since the All-Star break. Still, these are trivialities in what should still be a unanimous Rookie of the Year campaign. He's the only rookie with at least a 28 usage rate, so a drop in efficiency should have been expected at some point. Doncic also stands to join Kyrie Irving as the lone first-year players in NBA history to sport an effective field goal percentage over 50, a usage rate over 28 and an assist percentage over 30. All of this is to say that he probably should not have been placed below Jaylen Brown, Gary Harris and Clint Capella, among others. With Joel Embiid aging out before next year, he'll be a lock for the top 5, where he may be joined by someone he'll be inextricably linked to for the rest of his career. Page 5, photo by Scott Cunningham, NBA via Getty Images. Sure, I'll admit it, when the Hawks traded Luka Doncic for Trae Young and a top 5 protected pick, I thought it had a chance to go down as one of the worst NBA trades of the century, if not ever. Here's the crazy part, despite Trae Young averaging 25.7 points, shooting 42.7% from deep and dropping 8.9 dimes a night while leading the Hawks to a 5-6 record since the All-Star break, the possibility that this trade is a disaster for Atlanta still exists. Doncic has that kind of ceiling. It doesn't excuse us from ranking Trae Young so low. He was outside of even the honorable mention section and all the way down at 41, 1 spot below Josh Jackson, 2 spots below Andrew Wiggins and 3 spots below his own teammate, Taurean Prince. He's second in the entire freaking league in assists. Talk about a slap in the face. Where would he slot in a do-over? He's somewhat separated himself as the second-best rookie this year, although long-term concerns about his defense still exist. The Hawks aren't much worse on that end when he plays, but in high-stakes April and May basketball, he'll be targeted relentlessly. He's also finishing only 53% of his looks around the rim, which is in the 13th percentile league-wide according to Cleaning the Glass. Even so, his passing vision is elite and his shooting looks like it may get there as well. His size means he's a notch below the level of prospect that Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell or De'Aaron Fox are, but there's arguably no other under 25 point guard you'd rather have. Young versus Jamal Murray feels like a fun discussion we'll have when we do this next season. But neither Young, Doncic or Fox should feel as insulted by their placement as the final 2 men we spotlight here. Page 6, Richard Loudons, Toronto Star via Getty Images, Tyus Jones, Jordan Bell, Frank Ntilikina, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, Josh Hart, Markelle Fultz, Jabari Parker. Every one of them received a higher cumulative vote total than Pascal Siakam and Karis LeVert, who tied for 63rd in our final ranking. 63rd. Let's start with Siakam, who finished 3 times further down the list than his own teammate, OG Anunoby, not to mention 36 spots lower than Raptors backup point guard Fred VanVleet. The Zach Lowe favorite has started all but one game for the team with the second-best record in basketball, averaging 16.4 points, 7 rebounds and 3 assists. His three-point shot has also maintained all year, helping the Raptors outscore opponents by 9.7 points when he's on the court. They have a negative 4.6 net rating when he's off. He could very well be the swing piece that determines how far Toronto goes this spring. Taken 7 spots before Siakam in the 2016 draft was Caris LeVert. LeVert was an early season favorite for most improved player, averaging 20.3 points, 4.4 rebounds, 4.0 assists and 1.4 steals on a 48.9% shooting through the season's first dozen games, one of only 7 players, the other 6 are perennial all-stars, to hit those marks during that period. Then disaster almost struck, and he missed nearly 3 months with a leg injury that initially looked far worse than it was. Since he's returned, his scoring has been cut in half, and after moving back into the starting lineup, he's back on the bench. Next, meet the 2018 NBA 25 Under 25. It doesn't change the fact that we blew this one as well. LeVert is a stud, and along with D'Angelo Russell, who we also got wrong, putting him at 35 and first on our biggest disappointments list, give the Nets a bright future. Our future, on the other hand, is probably less bright if we can't start doing a better job on these things. We promise we'll try harder next season.